I got early access to a preview build of the new Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era. And while overall the game is relatively fun and pretty good, it has two massive issues that are preventing it from being great. And I wanted to make a video talking about them because they may or may not be a deal breaker for some of you. So the first issue I have is kind of minor, but it is something that needs to be noted. And that is all of the different factions that I had access to kind of feel relatively similar. Like they had their own mechanics and some things that kind of set them apart a little bit from each other, but it wasn't anything major. For example, some factions can make some resources that other factions can't, like the undead can make mercury, and the dungeon faction can make gems. Then each of them will have a unique building that does like one specific thing, some of which are way more OP than others. For example, the dungeon faction can max out a scroll for an amount of resources, which is extremely overpowered because a maxed out spell, just one, now you can have multiple scrolls equipped, but just one maxed out spell can be the difference between winning a battle and losing a battle. And this is because a lot of spells will target every unit once they are maxed out as opposed to just a single unit. And when you compare that to something like the undead special building, which just allows them to convert a living unit to the equivalent undead unit, you quickly realize there's a massive power imbalance there. But overall, in my opinion, each of the different factions is not that different from one another. And the same can be said for the heroes as well. All of the heroes share the same skill tree setup that we're going to talk more in depth about here in a minute, but they all pick from the same sets of skills. There isn't anything that makes them super unique when you are building them. Now, they do come with a special set of skills, but a lot of them share the same skill set with other units in their same faction, and the skill sets that they have that are special to the hero, they share with other heroes as well. For example, you could have a hero that buffs a specific unit and how many you get of that unit from each of your cities, and each faction will have a bunch of heroes that essentially do that exact same thing. So for example, with the undead, you may have one that buffs the pets, you may have one that buffs the skeletons, and you may have one that buffs the wights. And then you go over to the dungeon faction and you got the exact same thing, but for their units, the exact same buff amounts, the exact same increase to how many units you get a week, and so on and so on. And then you have ones that have the same special ability that is just shared across all of the factions. For example, this character receives +1 level to all daylight spells, +1 more for every 10 hero levels, and can use them in battle without limits, and enemy heroes cannot cast daylight spells. This is from the temple faction. And if we head over to the dungeon faction, you can see here's another hero that has the exact same special ability that the hero over in the temple faction has. Then on top of that, each faction's hero has their own specific faction ability. For example, the temple faction has Ascension, which each time a friendly stack dies, all remaining friendly creatures' HP increases by 10% until the end of the next round. Then you have the undead, which have Necromancy, which states that 8% of defeated enemies' HP is converted into ally undead HP after each victory. This adds new units to all existing undead stacks and doesn't create new ones. So it can keep increasing the numbers of specific stacks, but it will never create new stacks. And that's really all that sets them apart from each other. From there, they level specific skills, and those skills that you get to choose from are semi-randomized. That's a whole other video to get into, but more or less for the sake of it right now, let's just say they're random. So they're random skills that you get to pick from. It will give you a couple of different options. You pick the one that you want. Then when you get to level again, you'll get a chance to upgrade the level to one of those skills to max it out, because you can then further specialize in those skills more, or pick a new skill. But all heroes pick from the same skill pool. There is no situation like, for example, the undead get special undead skills. No, they pick from the same set of skills that every other hero picks from. Now, once again, I want to state overall, this is a minor inconvenience and it's okay. The game is still fun, but making the different units feel very different from each other creates a situation of where you have a game that you play for a little while and you're like, that was a good time, compared to a game that you're playing years from now going, I absolutely love this game, or it's one of those games that just never leaves your memory. It's a difference between a good game and a great game or an iconic game. So I definitely think this is something they need to consider. They need to make sure that each hero gets at least 1 or 2 special skills that they can pull from compared to all of the other units, or even just starting with a special skill that sets each hero apart and makes each hero feel different. And all this leads me to the next thing, the biggest thing that I have a problem with for multiple reasons, and that is the randomization, or seemingly random, of the skills that you get to pick from. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, okay, Firespark, what's wrong with a little RNG? A little RNG in most cases is okay. It's not that big of a deal, and sometimes it can even be loads of fun, but in this case, it feels very bad. So not only does each hero pull from the same set of skills that every other hero pulls from, so you can end up technically building two heroes that are almost exactly the same, you also have a situation where you have a hidden set of abilities that do kind of set them apart from each other, but the mechanic is so poorly executed that it's basically not even worth worrying about. Let me explain by using one of our heroes here that is an absolutely perfect example of how this can go bad and feels absolutely terrible. So we have Natalita here, and up at the top, this little symbol here, if you highlight over it, and I know on top of everything else, this is kind of hidden, so if you don't highlight over this or you play through the tutorial, I'm sure it tells you in the tutorial, you'll never know that this is here. But it being slightly hidden isn't a big deal. Simple UI fix. Anyway, so they all have these sets of abilities. It's different from hero to hero. She has Death Knight. If we take a look at my other hero here, this one has Necromancer. But in order to get these, you can see there are two different ones that she could have got. She could have got Harbinger of Doom or Walking Rot. You cannot get both. You only have enough skill slots to get one or the other because you need 5. You can see here we have 8 skill slots, and 2 of these will be filled at the start. This is your necromancy ability, so every one of the undeads will have this, and then they'll have some other skill that usually will have, you can see it has that little symbol there, it will have the symbol that corresponds with the symbol for Harbinger of Doom. Now, you need to max out each of those skills to level 3. You need to find randomly 5 total skills that have that little green or that little sword with the green gem on it, and then you need to max those skills out to level 3 in order to activate Harbinger of Doom. For Walking Rot, it would be the same thing. You manage to roll 5 skills that have the redstone on the sword instead, and you level them to max level, which is level 3, and you would have Walking Rot. Well, I got really close with Harbinger of Doom. We made it 4 skills in, but when I leveled up to get my last skill, I did not get a skill that had a green sword on it or a green gemmed sword, so I wasn't able to max it out, which feels terrible. Not only are you specifically picking skills that you maybe don't want to pick because you're picking them so that you can get that sword specifically to max them out to get that ability, it's also randomized on which skills you get to choose from, and you can't re-roll them, so you're just stuck with whatever you roll at that given point of time. Now, there are ways to kind of get different options, but from the testing I've done, I've been able to tell that it's already a set path that you're going down, so you're only going to get a specific set. Now, what you need may be in that set, and it's possible to reload a save and do some stuff different and manage to maybe roll that skill, but you shouldn't have to go through all of that, and it shouldn't feel terrible when you spend all of that time building a character and picking skills that you maybe don't want for that character in order just to get that specific symbol so that you can maybe get one of those abilities if you manage to lock out. That feels terrible. Here I am getting this character all the way to 15, and that final roll of skills, I got absolutely trash options that I didn't want, don't really help me with the rest of my build that much, and I spent all of that time trying to get the green sword and didn't even get it on my final roll. It just feels bad. Not only that, if a character manages to get some of these abilities, they are absolutely insane. These are like instant game-winning abilities. So they've left game-winning abilities completely up to random chance. Now, hers aren't specifically, but if we take a look at this character here, you can see that she has Cleric. So clerics have 2 options. Grand Inquisitor, which enemy hero can only use each spell once per battle. That's meh. But then we have Ascendant. All the hero spells cost 0 mana. So not only do all of her spells cost 0 mana, she also has the ability of daylight spells, which will be maxed out very quickly, and she can use them without limits, and the enemy hero can't even cast daylight spells. That's insane. That means she can spam these things every single turn without any issues whatsoever. That's game winning. And this game does plan on allowing you to play with other players for multiplayer. So if you're playing in multiplayer, that means you winning or losing is completely randomized to some extent, and your enemy could manage to max out one of these skills, something like, for example, Ascendant, and just absolutely trash you in battle even when you could probably overpower them otherwise. And honestly, that's my biggest issue with this game. But luckily, I don't think it's that hard to fix this problem. All they need to do to fix this is to just make a normal skill tree for the heroes, like apparently they have had in the past in previous versions. This way you can go down specific skill path that you want and ensure that you're selecting the specific skills that you want that correspond with whatever symbol for whatever thing you are trying to max out for their super special ultimate Super Saiyan ability. This ensures that in-game everybody has one of these abilities and it creates a somewhat more level playing field, and it doesn't feel like trash because you spent all of that time grabbing those abilities just to get locked out. This also allows for you to customize builds better in order to maybe find some build that is broken without getting one of those abilities, which still keeps you on a level playing field. I think if they do this and they make each of the factions and each of the heroes feel a little bit more unique than what they do, this will be an absolutely phenomenal game. Like I said, currently it's a good game, but it could easily be a great game with just those little changes. Well, I guess making the factions feel very different isn't a little change. That is a kind of a monumental task, but it's doable. We've seen it with other games before, so it is something they could do. And honestly, in some cases, doesn't take too terribly much to make them feel very different from each other. The biggest issue is just balancing them once you do. But luckily enough, it's going to launch into early access, so they have plenty of time to make these changes. So if you like these games, you've been a fan of the Heroes and Might and Magics in the past, I would say definitely keep an eye on it, wishlist it, follow it, all of that good stuff. They're supposedly going to have a demo at some point for everybody to check out. Download the demo, check it out, see what you think, and give them your feedback. All right, we're going to wrap this up there. Hopefully you all found this video helpful and informational. If you did, please consider hitting the subscribe button and notification bell so you can be notified when I upload other videos. And if you're looking for some more of my content, you can find a link to another one of my videos on the screen right now. I want to give an absolute massive shout out and thank you to all of my channel supporters for helping to keep these videos sponsor free. You all are absolutely amazing people. If you would like to become an official channel supporter, check out the links in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're shy, you don't like to comment, just hit that thumbs up button and share your support. Until next time, thanks for watching.